both goals so far. A fire one, and that's a wonderful save. Taking a shot. They'll fire one now from distance. And now Carnival will put it back in. Baccarat, and there goes in. That's missed. Oh, it stuck. It's off the crossbar. Deflected, and a touch on it by Acton.
And welcome everybody. My name is Erwin van Elst and I'm sitting here with Coach Murdat. And it's been a while since we've been on air. Again, Michigan Stars Elite Podcast, sponsored by Michigan Soccer Network. So we're glad to be back. Summer got in the way. Tryouts have happened. We're gearing up for a fantastic season. And along the lines, we are picking up on our podcasts again. Today, our topic is about a player and its development, the achievements of players that leads into how we, club and coaches, can help. And then in our final segment, we will also talk about the high performance section, the players that really have their goals set on, going to the next level, college and beyond right now.
Correct.
So all that will take place. We want you to enjoy. Hopefully you'll pick up a couple things on our end, and we'll be right back after this commercial.
There's good. Then there's sticky, sweet, spicy, double your napkins, don't even share with your own best friend. General So Good. Introducing General Soul Sauce for a limited time at Buffalo Wild Wings.
What rhymes with great?
Participate.
Where does greatness start? Here, in the classroom. On the diamond.
In the pool. On the field. Where will your greatness take you?
To better grades.
To more friends.
Yeah!
Be great.
Participate!
Thank you for stopping by the Michigan Soccer Network. To not miss out on any of the action, all you have to do is simply hit the subscribe button, and that way you're notified every time we bring new content or go live. Thanks for stopping by.
And we are back live again, and I'm sitting here with Coach Murdat. And to start off, you're new to our organization.
Yep.
You're not new to soccer.
Nope.
We both have been around the block a couple times. So introduce yourself to our audience.
Yep. Well, good morning, Erwin. Thanks for having me. Believe me, I've been coaching for 20 years, more than 20 years, at high school level, at club level. I'm very excited for this opportunity to, as you know, I'm going to be the technical director with Michigan Stars, and I'm so excited to see what we can do to help and, helping the players to succeed and, whatever is needed to, to move on and help them.
You're the high school coach of Eisenhower as well, right?
Yes, I've been coaching at Eisenhower boys and girls. I've been coaching the girls over 20 years and the boys in the last few years. Correct.
So it's fair to say you've obviously seen your share of players coming through and dealt with players that have gone and reached their goals into at least the college levels and then perhaps even beyond college levels. So let's talk about players for a moment, right? Players enter the tryouts that we just did, and ultimately these players have their own goals and they have their dreams. let's talk about some of the things that players have when they enter this arena of sports. What are some of the reasons that you've seen players play?
Well, first of all, every player that comes in, they have a goal in mind, right? And they want to succeed. So at the high school level, some of their goals is, I want to play college. And then obviously at the club level, you have players that their goal is just to have fun, right? So you have the variety of expectation that they have for themselves. Players, they want to have fun. They want to enjoy the game. But mostly at the high school level, my experience is that they have a goal in mind that, hey, I want to make my varsity team. I want to make my JV team. I want to make my freshman team. That's really the goals when, at the high school level.
Yeah. And when we're looking at the players coming in at a younger age, because we now are obviously still also coaching younger, you have a 2012 team that you're coaching, so they are a little bit removed from the high school. They might think high school, but they're not there yet.
They're not there yet.
So what are their goals? What brings them to the game, and what brings them to the training field?
Yeah, they want to improve. They want to learn. They want to have fun. They don't want to have that stress, so they want to be with their friends as well. But mostly I think at the younger age, every player that walks in there wants to learn, wants to improve, and this is where we are trying to help them.
Yeah. And then obviously, on both ends, we can't hide our age anymore, which is we've seen a lot of changes as well, right? Cultural changes. We've seen the world change slowly from where it is, and there's certainly a different upbringing and youth development than when we were players. Right? It's a different thing. And on the other side, nothing really changes. On the field, things are the same.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So on the field, looking at players to develop, what are things that they look for? What are the things that really brings them joy when we are training them? Can you give us some indication of what activities we're looking for?
Well, obviously, to help them, right? We want to start with the proper training, right? Give them the training that they need. To me, one of the most important things is to make sure that they get the appropriate the skill level training, right? And that's to me is the most important thing right now.
And I'm 100% with that. The skill element is fantastic about it. I just did a parent presentation for RSC Lightning, and it was like, talk about what do you want for your child, right? And they had the parents kind of go and give their answers to what it is that they want for their child, or think that they want for the child, or the child to experience. And in the end, it all comes down to very predictable pieces that we want for our children. We want them to have success. We want them to enjoy. We want them to learn a trade, right? A skill, the game.
And having fun.
Having fun, right? Had to be in there because that's the catalyst, right? The catalyst of doing things over and over is enjoyment. And it's about success, right? You got to improve.
Absolutely.
So when we do that, we know that we're on the right path and bring the player back. For yourself, have players, there's also issues at times, right? This is what we like to see for every player.
Of course.
Some of the issues that are happening, what are some of the things that players at times, they are their own hindrance of development? What can be done at times about overachieving? Too self-critical, how can we help?
Well, to me, there are a lot of things we can do to help them, right? One of the most important thing is we have to get to know our players, right? I think is priority for every coach. What are the things that we have to talk to our players? What are the things that let's say make them angry? What are the things? What is their strength? What is their weakness? What is it that we can help them with, so when they leave the field, they feel good. They're happy. Getting to know the players is very important. And unfortunately, this is one thing based on my experience, being in a soccer environment for a long time, that doesn't happen a lot. A lot of the coaches, they just go to coach, right? They don't want to get to know the players. We really need to get to know our players and their personality.
Yeah, fantastic, and I'm 100% agree with it. And the trade of the coach is what you said. It's to really invest, right, into the player itself. Don't see that a lot, and that's the truth. We have a lot of coaches. We have a lot of good coaches. And that's not just our club. I think all across the board. Overall,
yes. They're too occupied with training part of it, right? It's just more than the training. If the player leaves the practice field, you want to make sure that player is coming back and enjoy it again the next day. If that player is leaving the practice field and he is not happy, what happened, right? Doesn't have to be something that the coach did during the training. Could be something that maybe she had a bad day. She had an issue with one of her teammates. But I think to get to know this stuff, to observe it, is very, very important.
Yeah, that's. I can't agree more, because it really is where we are roaming right now. We know that there's a lot more social pressure, right, with social media. For youth, right? It's hard to escape certain problems that you have, because they might come back on the different social media that they're all associated with and attached with. So it's important for us to get a good pulse on that. To help them to navigate, right?
Absolutely.
Help them to navigate with their emotions, and some of us are most likely missing the boat because we are too focused on indeed just what happens on the field, our training session versus what happens with the players while they go through the training session.
Absolutely.
So it's a good little piece of advice for coaches, but parents and players as well.
Yeah, I think so.
So as players go and have their goals, and they are setting their goals, and we know their goals, and we help them to achieve their goals, ultimately a relationship is being built. Or relationships, as we just kind of highlight, could also be broken or not being enhanced. So the key is to be in sync with your players, to be real, to be honest. How about the honesty piece from coaches? How important is it for a player that wants to achieve to hear and get feedback that's honest and sincere?
Yeah, and I'm going to talk about more later, because to me, it's very evaluation. That this is the subject that I'm going to talk about later. Is very, very important, right? Based on experience, I know a lot of coaches don't do the communication. They don't want to talk to the parents, and they don't even talk to the players. And they do evaluation once a year maybe, and I want to talk about that later on that. But yes, answering your question, I think communication with the players, with the parents is a must.
Parents coming in to play. Parents obviously are a massive piece of influence, support, right? Support. And we know that we live in a culture where the winning is very valued. We know that there is the culture of where we pay quite a bit of money, and with that comes expectations from a parent, even more so. And those expectations are not always in line with what the player can and cannot do.
With their success,
How can we work together closer with the parent as well, and the player and the coach?
Well, educating the parents is very important. And we need to make sure, we want to make sure we place these players to succeed, right? So sometimes us as a club, we have to provide them the honest opinion, right? And we gotta make sure parents understand if do we really need to travel, all the way to California every weekend? Because when you do this kind of stuff, then the expectation from the parents is, hey, I'm paying all this money now, so it's being more pressure on the players, right? It's more pressure on the parents, expectation of the parents that if I'm doing this, then I want to see my player to become, a high skill player, or in a year. So yeah, goes back to the communication between us, the club, and the parents, educating them that what's coming their way, why we do what we do. That's to me is the important part.
Yeah, and that's where we're glad to have you on board,
No, of course.
As our technical director at Michigan Stars. And we're going to go deeper into it. We're going to dive a little bit deeper into the role of the club and the coach. So as we come back, but for now, we're going to take a short break, and we'll see you in a second.
Granite City Food and Brewery has 2 Michigan locations in Troy and Northville. Serves made-from-scratch food, brews in-house beer, and even has brunch every Sunday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. To learn more about their daily specials or to book a private party, visit gcfb.com. Make sure you head over to Granite City in Northville at the corner of 7 Mile and Haggerty, or the Troy location at 16 Mile and I-75.
In life, things aren't scripted.
If you're an athlete, we need people like you and translate those skills to officiating.
You can get a lot out of it.
It happens in every town, in every game.
We never have a perfect game, but the rewards always outweigh the negativities.
And welcome back to our Michigan Stars Elite podcast. And I'm sitting here with Coach Murdat, and we just kind of finished our first section talking about the player and the achievements of players and the reasons why players play. And ultimately, we also ended up with parents and their role.
Yep.
So the second section, we're going to continue to talk about the club and our responsibilities, and then how we can help the coaches, the individuals, and some of the roadblocks that we might encounter, that life will bring and families have, and how we have to navigate those and still stay on course for what we set up. So let's continue with the parent for a moment. And you mentioned communication. The more we can communicate with the parent, the more we can educate the parent, I guess that the better of a relationship we'll create.
Yeah, so what can we do as a coaches and as a club, right? To me, communication is a priority. Now, clubs, they do evaluation, but most clubs, they do once a year evaluation. To me, the evaluation doesn't have to be formal, once a year. It can be informal communication with the players and parents throughout the year. Erwin, the biggest problem we have right now is that overall, a lot of the coaches, they wait for their evaluation. They wait until right before the tryout of the next year. And unfortunately, it happens that some of this evaluation is not what's the best for the players, is what's the best for the club, right? Just use an example that I'm evaluating a player, and I need for the age group that I'm going to coach next year, I need a player. Evaluation is going to be perfect, even though I know that player is not as perfect, right? To me, we have to be honest with our players, with our parents when we do our evaluation. We got to do not only end of the year, not only at the mid-year. Every time we see something that we need to bring up to that player, we need to bring it up. Don't wait. I said a little bit about that the coaches don't want to talk to the parents, right? Is that to me, I don't agree with that. I think we need to sit down, especially at the younger age, educate the parents about, okay, what is it that I see with your with your kid, right? What is it that we need to help this kid to improve that area, so when it gets to the end of the year, there is no surprises for coach, there's no surprises for the parents, and there's no surprise for the player.
Yeah. We have our evaluations like any other club does,
of course,
right?
Of course.
But the key is indeed, and I 100% again agree with it, is the fact that we as coaches are obviously the persons that deal with the player every single time steps on the field. We know what the player can do. That's one of the things that we have. We see things happening. We see development happening on the field. We are very active with improving that player, right?
Absolutely.
That's the goal. That's why we're on that field. And with that, we know that there's going to be moments where a player stagnates because development doesn't just happen in a straight line.
Correct.
We know that there's going to be some obstacles. Whether it be emotional, whether it be physical, growth spurts, right? Whether it be just areas where a child becomes less confident in life. It becomes changing in its appearance as it grows. It has issues at school at times, and we somewhere down the road have to, as a good coach, you have to get those feelers out.
Absolutely.
Is it okay for coaches to go to parents and address some of the things that it sees? It might not be concern to the parent, so we're not waiting for the parent to come to us with a concern. We also go to parents with our concerns.
Very important. Yes, for sure.
Does it happen a lot, do you feel?
Nope. No, I mean, I honestly don't think that happens a lot. But I think it's our responsibility to work with the parents and to let them know, yes, you're absolutely correct. We don't have to wait for the parents to come to us all the time. Hey, what is it that my kid is doing wrong? That's why he's not playing or she's not playing. Is our responsibility to explain that to the parents, that what is it that we need to work with them, what's the weakness and of that player that we have to make sure it's improving. I guess at the end of the day, we don't want any surprises, right? Our job is to help those players to succeed, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And as we're talking here, my mind goes into this for a moment, and it's like we're talking, and we talk a lot about improving. We talk a lot about when there's an issue that we need to talk, or a parent will come with an issue. And what if we change the whole narrative and say, okay, how about we gonna talk about what the player is doing extremely well at this moment, in its developmental stages, and make that phone call to the parents, or certainly let the player know after a practice, after a game, let it know, you know what, that was awesome. You played a great game today, or I've seen you work hard over the last 3 weeks and you're really making strides and you're changing the game. The power of positive reinforcement, I think, is obviously very, very strong. But in our society, and including myself, because you live in that society, there's a lot more focus on the negative than on the positive. So from a club perspective, from a coaching perspective, and for us at Michigan Stars, I know that we can and we are changing that narrative into the can versus the can't.
Yep, it's one of our, definitely is one of the things that we are going to be focusing more and more, right? That the positive, not just the negative, right? But at the end of the day is our communication, and the communication has to be both ways, not just the negative, the positive as well.
Yeah.
I agree.
Moving into our providing opportunities for players, moving into what we as a club can do for them, right? What are some of the things that are key pieces that help this player to develop, not just even as a player. We're talking about being the person that's ready for life.
Yeah. Well, first of all, we talked about our goal is for players to have fun and enjoy the game, right? That's our number one priority. So now, when you look at, we got to make sure. If it's about soccer, we provide them the best training. The training that is age appropriate, skill level appropriate, right? That's very, very important, because when we don't do this right, they get burned out. And and that's something we are trying to avoid. Now, one of the things I'm thinking as we are talking in here is, what can we do as a club to help them, right? To provide them, so we look at, maybe providing, and we can talk about that later on this in more details, but providing them the facility that, is it a turf or is it a grass that both coaches and players can can do their training, right? I know when I came into Michigan Stars, one of the things that I was so impressed with was our facility. Why? Is because I don't have, as a coach or even as a players or parents, if there is a bad weather, I know there is this beautiful indoor that you can go, and you don't have to cancel practices. These are all stuff that really can help our players, right? And so if the grass is wet, you can go on the turf. If there is a bad weather, go indoor. Let's say having a training room, or having you want to review your film, any of this stuff. Our job is to provide them the tools that they can succeed. And another thing is, making sure we give them the right platform, right? Again, I was thinking about that. Because we want to make sure we place these players in a platform that they can be challenged, they can compete, but at the same time, they don't get frustrated. That's to me is also another thing that is very important for our responsibility. Another thing that we in our Michigan Star, right, we are doing our extra training, or we call it the third day training. Now, third day training, the way we have structured in here, Erwin, that we are doing that with our semi-professional players, and we have them. We talk to them prior to that third day training. We let them know that what are the needs of that team. And to me, that's very important, right? So we use the third day training to help them to improve on a lot of the weaknesses. That's why you work with the coaches, and you come up with the session plan of what are your needs for this third training. So we bring our professional, semi-professional players, and they work with them. To me, extra training also is key.
Yeah. And I'm glad that we have that. I think from the club perspective, we certainly do a lot of training. We train a lot. Winter time, we go back into it in the next section as we go about the performance
more
trainer, right? Like the top group that we have, and it's a massive piece of development. And we're glad that we have those options.
Absolutely,
we're glad that we have that ability. Over the years, and on my end, my own experience with players is that as long as we treat players well, we give them age and stage appropriate training, right? Which comes back to at 10 years old, the training looks different than an 18 years old.
Exactly.
Right? It should be, it has to be. And we provided, the best competition is, for me, it's like, a team that ends up in a 500 record, right? I mean, and that's kind of where you want to be. You need success. We need to have, we need to have wins. You need to have tough wins, and you need to have tough losses. Right? That's the platform. So when we talk about platforms per se, which is the hot topic right now, it's kind of the thing that every club and every parent is very obsessed with.
Very obsessed.
It's an obsession, which is not a positive, I feel, because really the platform itself, is not where the issues are or where the benefits are. It's about the players on the field need to play in meaningful games, and meaningful games are games that are competitive, right? And that could be happening 5 miles away from us, and it could be happening, 1,000 miles away.
And that's the part that we need, educating the parents about the platform, because platform changes even all the time, right? If you play ECNL, let's say, that can change. Tomorrow. So the teams that they play at that platform or any platform, they can move on to different platforms. So yes, I agree with you.
Yeah, so the platform focus is per se, it might be a little bit distorted to think that one platform is better than the other. The key is if your player and your team is in whatever platform, whatever alphabet soup it is right now, where is it playing and where is it heading? So that's a good discussion for us to go on. In our third section, we're going to talk about, again, high performance. It's a little bit more of an emphasis on the absolute athlete that has its goals to play college, most likely, right? It's fair to say. So when we come back, we go into that much deeper, and we'll see you soon.
Carry number 9.
My dad and my grandfather are officials. I've grown up around officials and seeing how much they enjoy being part of the games. As a student athlete, I've always appreciated the people out there who are willing to give back to the kids. The Legacy program lets me officiate while I'm still in high school, working younger kids' games. Officiating gives me a better understanding of the game. I get to make some pretty good money for a high school kid, and I even get to spend some quality time with my dad. There's help wanted. Just whistle.
Now Worrell has a good cutback from him. He'll fire one, and that's going to go in!
Beat Up Sweet Chili Lime Sauce has 3 perfect ingredients. Sweet, chili, lime. People keep telling us sweet isn't an ingredient. How these wings get sweet then? Introduce a new Sweet Chili Lime for a limited time at Buffalo Wild Wings.
Are you looking to grow here in 2023? Let the Michigan Soccer Network help you and your restaurant fill more seats. Help you and your law firm get new clients. Help you and your dental practice find more patients. Find more roofing customers for this upcoming summer. And to help you and your medical practice find new patients. To learn more or get started, visit MichiganSoccerNetwork.com.
Back to the episode from Michigan Stars Elite, sponsored by Michigan Soccer Network. I'm here with Coach Murdat, and we are finishing up. We're in our third section here, talking about the high performance athletes. Talked about players' achievements. We already touched base on the importance of communication between parents, coaches, and clubs. Some of the facilities that are needed for every player, for any player to have success. And now let's change it and really focus on the 1% of the players in the club at times that have the desire, the competitiveness, the true mentality, right? It goes very strong competitors that say, I want to get the utmost out of my athletic ability and the sport I play. So from a club perspective, from a coach perspective, a player and a parent, there's going to be a couple of different expectations, needs that need to be fulfilled. How can we as a club, and what are we doing as a club to help these players to reach their optimum ability?
Well, we have several things that we have done and we are going to do. One of the things that I want to touch on, because I'm coaching at high school, is like providing the workshop for these, whatever you want to call it, 1% or 2% for college recruiting is very important. You'll be surprised, Erwin, how many players at high school level I have, senior players, They have no idea how to, reach out to the colleges, to put their name out there. Good players too, right? And they're asking for help. So one of the things I know you are doing here, doing this work, coming up, preparing this workshop for our players, that's very important. Second thing that, we talked a little bit earlier about what we can do to provide them is the facility that they can succeed, right? I was so impressed with our training room that we have here. I know we have our semi-professional that are using it as well there, but what a great opportunity for the players that they want to get to the next level. We are giving them that opportunity. We have the film room, what you want to call that. I know I was watching one of our coaches the other day that, they had the, from the tournament, they had that game taped, and he was going segment by segment, reviewing, and to me, and all the players, I was so surprised how they were focused, and they were really trying to figure out, oh, did I do this right or did I do this wrong? So to me, those are all important, right? Players that they want to, get to that next level, that 1% that you're talking about, they're always want to train, right? They always want to train. So what a great idea to provide them a facility that we don't cancel practices on them, right? I mean, I know this is very important, right? Giving them a facility that you are not 25, but give the coach a 25-yard, basically a grid, and say work with them, right? In our facility, I know, outdoor. Is like a heaven. They can train, basically anywhere they want, and they can, if we talked about that earlier, that if we get to the bad weather, that hey, you don't have to go home, you don't have to cancel out, because I know you want to train. I know we don't want to miss that. So go indoor, huge indoor facility for us. So these are all the things that we can provide. Another thing is like injury, right? Injury that trying to educate those players for prevention. That it just crossed my mind. So yeah, these are all the stuff that I think we can help them with.
I think when you talk about high performance, you need to have the facilities, because that is one of the biggest attributes to help an athlete to become better, right?
Yep.
So the facilities provide the opportunity for a coach. It's not just, and players, exactly. So it has to be together, and from a coaching staff, our expectations for particularly the coaches that are Michigan Stars Elite, and as we go from, the under 11s and 12s all the way up till the U19s, we can see even within our coaching staff, there's the shift of the teachers of the game to the competitors of the game, right? There's the teaching still at a younger age. Ages and stages have to do with still bringing technical information and ability to the player, tactical information to the player at those younger ages. And then in the end, we were looking at that performance stage, that high school age, that 4 years almost, U15, U19. And so from a coaching perspective, as a director of coaching, the expectations are to really meet the players' wants with our ability to help them to get there, right?
I do our best.
Our expertise. And so that's a very good setting. Very pleased with where we at. From an indoor training perspective, we know that we train a lot in the winter, which is a massive piece, because we are 5 months indoors. And the facility has that ability to provide us a lot of space.
And everybody knows winter training is the best tool that you can provide as far as helping the players, right, for their technical improvement, right?
It allows us, because there's a little bit of a takeaway on the competitiveness. Not that we're not competing, but it's different than league play, right? And then your own league that you play in. Your platforms are typically on a low, and that means for us it's building that player very specifically to its needs, right? Which we can. It will become physical if there's a need there. We have that training available, speed and agility. We have the ability to still tactically train, because the fields are big enough and our training areas are big enough to train tactically.
Yeah, and you know, one thing that honestly I was very impressed with is that because we have this facility that is big enough that even for winter time, we are providing these players 3 days of training, right? Because in most cases, you know, 2 days training is what most clubs do, right, in winter. And you know, I talk about the best time to train and help the players to improve is winter time, right? And what a great opportunity when you can train 3 days a week. I mean, you know, to me, that's one thing that I was very impressed.
Yeah, training makes better, and
yeah, for sure.
And then obviously that's a great setting for us. Coming with that high performance, there's obviously expectations are higher.
Yep.
You're dealing with more investment of players, more stress, quite honestly.
The stress, yep, and expenses.
So all this become triggers that easily can lead to roadblocks.
Correct.
We're talking about positive coaching, we're talking about building players, the relationship between parents, coach, and player that needs to be even stronger at a high level.
Yep.
Because we're investing more, right? And
yep.
we have the expectations go up, not because of us, because the player
they want more,
shows more, right?
Yep, they
wants more. Roadblocks, injuries,
yes.
You know, finances, workloads of parents that can no longer be with their child as they travel.
Yep.
What is the role then for us as a coach in helping and understanding that player is dealing with some of these stresses around?
It is our responsibility, right? Like I said, you know, when it comes to injury, right, it is our responsibility to provide them the education for prevention of injuries. It is our responsibility when there's a stress, right, because of the high level, to make sure the platform that we place them is the right platform for them, so they can compete, but they don't get frustrated, and you know, and that's where the stress is coming from, right? So it is our responsibility for all that.
Yeah. From how we make decisions, I know periodization is a big thing for us to work with prevention of injury, right?
Yep.
I think we know that injuries do happen. We know there's games where it just happens. There's nothing anybody can do.
No.
Player is fit, in shape, and it just happens.
Yep.
That's one thing. Those are the categories that we can't control.
Correct.
It's part of life exactly.
Yep.
Is the risk that you take with playing.
Yep.
But there's other pieces to it that we do have a direct influence on, and then one of it is not overtrain. So although I know that we're talking about that 3 times a week, but we also have said, and it just came out in our club, that it might not always be in the best interest to do the 3, because there's moments you come from a tournament and you know you have a Monday training and you played 3-4 games.
Of course.
So I think the piece that comes with it is the responsibility for us to also recognize there's times that we do not train because that's better for you.
Or even extra, you know, it's a culture for us now, unfortunately, that we have to go to 10 tournaments every year. We have to go out of a state and travel for to do all these games. We have to play all these games. It doesn't have to be, right? I mean, you know, I think you talked about that already. So in wintertime, right, it's all about getting trained and getting ready for spring. Even during the season, you know, there are a lot of good teams around here that you can just play, right? And don't overload your players. Balance between, you know, playing soccer and your life, right? Those are all important. They will help your stress as well. I do agree, and we don't do that here actually, as far as having, you know, training every single week, because you have balanced that for us, that okay, you know, if you have a tournament, you know, this week, then let's just go with 2. Following week, if you don't have any games or anything, we'll go 3. Yes, we kind of make sure there's a balance here.
Yeah. Good. Not cookie cutter, that's for sure. And that's true. The more you go into the high performance, we have to start recognizing the effort that it takes.
Yep.
And where it also has the stress levels are higher. You know, on a physical output is more, the mental piece is more loaded, right?
Yep.
And it does need to be released. And at times we just have to take a good bird's eye view on what we've done, where we are, and where we go, and then adjust to what we see the workload has been, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Players need to feel in the end of the day that they've been taken care of.
Yep.
That they have an ability that has been pushed to improve. And on the other end, they are young and they continue to go hard, and we need to sometimes say, okay, this is enough.
Yep.
And that's at times we are at odds with parents because they think that more is better. And it's not always the case. So the balance is key.
It's that, again, educating the parents as well too. Sometimes, I mean, it's not even the club; it's the parents that are pushing their kids to a point that it's not necessary, and that's again our job. Now, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, right? I mean, there are parents out there that they want their kids to play 7 days a week. But me first-handed, because again, coaching, at high school, I know how many of these players that they commit to play college, and second year, because I'm in touch with most of them, they quit. They're burned out. When you put a player from 10 years old, 8 years old, and you have him play 7 days a week, going out of town for a tournament, every year, by the time you get to college, they want to have fun. We're going to have to we can't forget about that part of soccer, right? They want to enjoy having fun with their friends, and which that brings up another subject for the future about high school versus club, and what are we taking away from the kids so it doesn't have to be that way, right? But unfortunately, it's something that is right now is there, and there's a fight between high school versus club, right?
Yeah, like year-round club.
Year-round, yeah, absolutely.
Which brings us to the point of, okay, so when do we really, that high performance model is not always there, even though you might have a player that's young, a 10-year-old player might have a very strong drive, it has aspirations, and it needs to be catered to, but it's still a difference between a 10-year-old that wants things versus a 16-year-old that wants things, right?
For sure.
And so from a perspective of we're looking at the models right now that are being handled and the platforms, and then you have the pre-platform. We have the same, it's all around the club levels now, again, is that obsession with it. The pre-platform is really already indicating that it's not the platform, and it's not the platform for a reason, because we're not in that phase with your development.
Correct.
Your development is really about players still. At the 11 and 12-year-old, we're really developing the player much more than developing the team and the wins and losses, right?
Correct.
So that's kind of, I think, the danger right now in our culture, in our sports.
Yeah.
Our goal is to be sensitive to it.
Yep.
And again, it comes down to all the time the same thing. It comes down to education,
communication.
Yeah,
education, communication. I think those are the big factors, and working together, I guess, at the end of the day.
Yeah, I'm a parent, and both my kids have gone through all the ranks of soccer, and it's always been, even though you're in the business, it's funny how when it's your own child that you take that parent hat back on, right? And you
absolutely,
and you have that information, and all this what we talked about is in your head. But in the end, it comes down to one thing for me. Forget everything I know in soccer and development. It comes back to, is my child happy, right?
Is she having fun, or is he having fun?
Exactly, and that is so important, right? So we're talking about all these ways for us to increase the potential of a player and the platforms that come with it, because that's where they can be. But they will never reach that if we are not allowing them to be who they are.
Correct.
And to listen to them, right? And find ways to navigate the stress levels.
And again, I see a high percentage of that happening year after year, again, based on, being at high school and seeing all these kids that they graduate and they move on with their life, and I'm always in communication with them, talk to them, and I see seriously a high percentage of these players that they they go to the to play soccer, and then mid-year or 2 years from there they say, I think I'm tired. I think I want to look at different part of my life, and that happens a lot.
Yeah. Part of it is our culture, because we all in.
We are all
There's
in.
good things about being all in. But what does it mean to be all in?
There's no balance.
At 11 and 12. Are we all in as a player? Are the parents all in?
Yep.
And again, that's the difference, right? We need to step back at times and recognize we are not driving that train, is it? It's that player that shows that it wants. And even then, at 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 and 11, we still have to make sure that it's a well-rounded activity. It cannot just be focused on that one element, because that's where burnout happens.
Absolutely.
I played all my life.
Yep.
You've played all your life. But obviously culture was different. Times were different. But the key is, it's not the amount of times you play. I played every day.
Yep.
But I played every day, but only twice with the coach. And most of the time
I bet you didn't go 500 miles away to play.
No, we went without biking, so that's it. So the key is for us to keep the balance there, keep it real, keep it within your family. We are finishing this episode, and we hope that you enjoyed some of the interaction that I had with Coach Murdat, that some of the takeaways are there for you to implement, and we wish you good luck in the journey. We'll be out on the fields competing, so can't wait to be on the fields. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it.